registering when they get here. It's okay. That's right. All right, I'm just going to start. Okay, wait, here she is. Oh my goodness, she's not. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The Ridgewood Village Council, this is a public workshop. The date is March 23rd, 2022, and the time is 7:32 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of a schedule, including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Councilwoman Perrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Reynolds.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Seaton.
Here.
Councilman Vagianos.
Here.
And Mayor Knudsen.
Here. Please join us for the flag salute. So please join us for a moment of silence, keeping in our thoughts and prayers all the people of the Ukraine, all people in war-torn countries, and not just the people in the Ukraine, but what we're seeing today is so scary and horrible, but also for the people of Russia who recognize what's going on and are trying to work against this. So please, thank you. Thank you. Hopefully we'll have peace soon. Yeah. Okay. With that, we will go to public comments, not to exceed 3 minutes per person. Microphone. Okay. Name and address for the record.
Good evening. Andy McGonnell, 457 Upper Boulevard. Dear Village Council, I would like to speak on the matter of outdoor dining corrals. I do want to be clear that this is not a battle between retail and restaurants, and that our entire CBD need the support of our community and the Village Council. This is about making sure that the interests of the community, our business owners, our services continue to be the best in Bergen County, and why many of us choose to raise our families here and come to Ridgewood to invest in this community. I believe the Village Council should listen to the community before we take action. Over 2,300 petition signatures multiple news articles in the last 14 days since this was last mentioned, coverage by CBS, hundreds of social media posts and comments, and dozens of letters of support have been pledged in support of the outdoor dining corrals. I want to bring to the attention of this forum that just this week, a bill is actively working through legislature to extend outdoor dining at a state level. This has unanimous bipartisan support, sponsored by Senators Sarlo and Senator Johnson, representing towns and constituents across Bergen County. I believe we should start by extending the dining corrals in Ridgewood through to the fall. It's a decision that the Village of Ridgewood Council has made previously, and it's within your power to make this decision again. I strongly advocate that we should use the already paid-for expertise in the form of our planners, engineers, and consult openly with our businesses and the wider community before we lose this valuable amenity. Ridgewood CBD cannot afford to lose the outdoor dining corrals. We cannot afford to let them lapse at the end of this month. Otherwise, we will be overtaken and left behind by towns and villages across Bergen County and the state. And I think it's in everybody's interest to make sure that we have an open consultation on this. I'd like to thank everyone for their time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Rorick Hallaby, 1 Franklin Avenue. 4 items. The 2022 budget. Bob Rooney should present the 2022 budget in a heavily advertised town hall meeting where the residents of Ridgewood can participate in person and by Zoom. The budget format as presented on the village website is unintelligible, and the budget should be presented in a user-friendly manner. A town hall venue allowing for a give and take is the only way for the village to be truly transparent with the budget. Hybrid meetings. I attended the Board of Ed meeting last Monday remotely and made comments by Zoom. And guess what? It did not delay a return to normalcy, and no one shed any tears. The website. Shame on all of you for deferring yet again upgrading the village website, which must be the worst in New Jersey, if not the United States. You should be embarrassed. Ridgewood Water upgraded their website on its own, and now after 2+ months of being down, 2 months of being down, the Ridgewood Police Department is upgrading its website also on its own. Anyone with a basic business sense would have come to a common sense decision of going to one website developer and having them work on all 3 at the same time. Nicely coordinated. Look at the savings that would have accrued. I realize that with an autocratic regime controlling the information that the people are presented with is the best way of controlling them. Putin, Trump, and elsewhere. And what better way to choke off the flow of information to village residents than having a mediocre website? 2 examples. The only reason the dates of village council meetings is on the listing of current events on the website is because I asked for it. You kidding me? An 82-year-old man has to contact the village manager for them to put the dates of the meetings on the website? And it took me 15 minutes to discover where the budget was posted on the website. Did I say posted? Buried is a better word. It's terrible. Now let me talk about the CBD and the dining corrals.
Okay.
I'll come back.
Thank you. All right.
I'm Jeannie Johnson, 325 Maston Place. I'm speaking tonight as a pedestrian and bicycle safety advocate. For those of you who don't know, I've been actively involved in
Just pull the microphone?
Sure.
Please. Okay.
Is that
Just start
better?
again. Start
Okay.
again. I got your name and address. Just start again.
Okay, Jeannie Johnson, 325 Maston Place. I'm speaking tonight as a pedestrian and bicycle safety advocate. For those of you who don't know, I've been actively involved in spearheading initiatives to promote safe walking and cycling in the village for 15 plus years. I've written multiple grants that provided the village with over $2 million in funding to improve infrastructure such as sidewalks, crosswalks, blinking beacons, educational programs, etc. I've worked with countless experts and designed public forums to help educate the public on how important it is to reestablish the principles on which this village was founded, to be a safe, walkable community. According to WalkScore, a walkable neighborhood has a center, whether it's a main street or a public space. It has people, enough people for businesses to flourish and for public transit to run frequently. It is mixed income, mixed use, with affordable housing located near businesses. And we have all that. So my question is, why are we catering to vehicles? Several years ago, members of this council agreed to hire a firm to revamp our master plan. I believe the price tag for this mission was approximately $250,000. In my opinion, it was a good investment that would yield a great return. It's encouraging to read the answers to some of the visioning process surveys. For example, the pedestrian plaza was number 3 when it was asked what their favorite event was in the village. It was stated that the most pressing transportation need in the village was congestion, with bicycle access being next. The biggest issue facing downtown, according to this survey, was number 1, it's unsafe for pedestrians, and number 2, heavy traffic. The favorite cultural resources in the community are community events and festivals, which I believe the pedestrian plaza falls into that category. The common requested improvements are additional sidewalks, traffic calming measures, safety measures for cyclists, closing vehicular traffic in certain areas during certain times of the day and week. And another question was, what business or activity would you like to see downtown? The answer was art and performances. Again, the pedestrian plaza. Another answer, a bike park. So to stay afloat, the restaurateurs had to pivot. And I am encouraging the retailers to pivot as well. If there are more walkers in our central business district, that is going to be better for our central business district economy. And we know that the highest earners we know that the people that come to town are looking for more than a dinner. They want to go out and have an experience. And that is all I have to say. I hope that you recognize this. I hope that you, look at the suggestions from the master plan.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Committee. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. With that, we're going to close public comments.
I'd like to say something about the website.
Sure.
May I say something about the website?
No, absolutely.
I have been frustrated with the website myself, but I must tell you there's a really terrific new tile called Ordinances and Resolutions that the clerk's office and the information and the IT people put together, and I think it's really important for the residents to be able to express their views, because now, as soon as an ordinance is introduced, it's going to be up on the website. Every resident in town can read it. Every resident in town can come and speak to that issue, make corrections or amendments that you think are important. This is really a wonderful development. I wanted to point that out. So please use it. And it also has resolutions. If you've looked at other towns' websites, it's not easy to find the ordinances, and you'll almost never find the resolutions. So this is a really in-depth record that's there for your use. Also, I wanted to point out that the clerk's office has made a Herculean effort to bring the minutes up to date. Yes, they fell behind during COVID, but now I believe they're fully up to date. If something's missing, let us know. And I will thank the League of Women Voters because they're the ones who brought it to our attention that we were falling behind. So do read the minutes and let us know if something's missing. Also, with regard to the request for a town hall meeting on the proposed budget, I'd like to ask the manager's office, can that be arranged?
I'll have to defer to when Ms. Maylander's back.
Okay.
She'll be back Friday.
Thank you.
When is our public hearing?
April 13th?
Yeah. So we actually have a public hearing. That is a town conversation. That is a public hearing where we do a budget presentation. It is open to the public. The public has the opportunity to ask questions, to participate. It is the way budgets are completed. We actually held through February and March, I guess, multiple budget meetings that included overviews by every single department where all the capital and operational budgets were reviewed, head count, staffing levels, everything was discussed. Those meetings were open to the public. They were televised. It's all, we've been doing this for months, and we have a public hearing, and that is the opportunity for the public to participate. There is a budget presentation. We had that already last week, 2 weeks ago. And I encourage everyone to participate in the public hearing because that is the official record of the budget. That is the public piece where the public weighs in, makes the comment. That's a hearing. So I encourage everyone out there, participate, come and join us. It was disheartening, unfortunate to see that we went through, I don't recall how many meetings through February and March. We were here on Monday afternoons. We were here on Friday afternoons. We were eating pizza. I think we had sandwiches. And I don't recall any member of the public. They were publicized. They were on the website. Nobody came. That was the time. Now we're going to have a public hearing. Everybody come, participate. And thank you, Councilwoman. And yes, we do. I think the clerk's office did a terrific job getting those up onto the website. I'm going to speak to the dining corrals, pedestrian plaza, and such. In 2020, March, we all experienced something, for most of us, we never experienced before, and we truly never want to experience again, a global pandemic. In very quickly, a small team was assembled to help the Central Business District survive. Out of that came a pedestrian plaza and dining corrals. But those initiatives were sold to the non-food businesses to get their buy-in as short-term, with an understanding that once the pandemic was behind us or declared no longer an emergency, we would restore pre-pandemic conditions to the Central Business District. There are many people who speculate what some businesses can or can't do with pedestrian plazas and corrals. None of us have those financials. Many of those weighing in are not paying rent on Ridgewood Ave. I've heard from landlords who cannot fill open empty spaces because of the dining corrals and the pedestrian plaza. I've heard from landlords that they will lose tenants. We don't want that to happen. I've met with quite a number of business owners who said they cannot continue. It's not sustainable. And the other thing I'll share is that over the years, we on this village council and internally, and actually the Chamber of Commerce, and actually Paul Vagianos was a person who really kind of brought this to my attention very early on within the first days of my being elected back in 2014. Our on-street parking spaces, while it seems like 18 doesn't sound like a lot, those are the most valuable shopper, diner, customer parking spaces in our inventory. We have cleared those parking spaces to make them available for shoppers and diners and visitors. We have worked tirelessly to do that. We've worked tirelessly to get the employees to get out of those parking spaces to free them up. We have worked so hard on this. These were short-term initiatives, and the buy-in was that we would restore to pre-pandemic conditions once this was behind us. Now, it is important to understand that that was a commitment. It is an agreement that was made. And when countless businesses, non-food businesses, are saying, we cannot survive here if this continues, we have to listen, but more importantly, we have to uphold the commitment, the agreement that we made. And for me personally, the village council never voted for this. The only thing the village council did was ask the village manager to take a pause for a moment as Omicron and Delta variants were colliding back in the fall, to not undo these until March 31st so we could at least evaluate what the pandemic conditions were. So I actually personally worked to expand the dining corrals onto Ridgewood Ave because I wanted to help the restaurants there. So I just think that other people's financials, other people's locations, that's their business, and none of us have the right to speculate the next person's financial situation, what their sales may or may not be, what does or doesn't help them, what may or may not work for them. I think we can't speculate on that. I think we have to listen to those other business owners, listen and come up with better solutions, some solutions, and we are working behind the scenes to figure that out. So I actually appreciate, I've read every email. Some of them I only had to read once because there were lots of them. But in any event, with that, we will...
Susan, before you continue, I just want to comment with all due respect. I never said anything about the value of those parking spaces to you. That was not something that I said. Perhaps someone else mentioned that to you, but it was not me.
The value? No, I said when I was first elected, you took me on that tour and showed me.
No, you said that I pointed out to you that the on-street parking spaces are so valuable. I never had that conversation with you.
Well, I guess we'll disagree. I took the tour with you downtown, and you wanted the parking spaces on the street, on-street parking spaces were the most important, maybe not the word valuable.
No, I took you on a tour of the municipal parking lots, and I explained to you how they work and what the issues were associated with them, but we never had any conversation about the on-street parking.
We'll disagree again. Okay. With that, we will go to the manager's report.
Thank you. The Daffodil Festival and Earth Day Fair will take place in Memorial Park at Van Ness Square on Sunday, April 10th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The theme is 2022 Act Now for a Green Ridgewood. Celebrate with us at this annual special event and enjoy a petting zoo, green educational displays, water conservation, Project 1,000 Acres, importance of trees, electric vehicles and charging systems, children's activities, musical entertainment, and a costume Daffy Dog Parade at 12:30. Eastern Ridgewood, sponsored by the Ridgewood Chamber of Commerce, Saturday, April 16th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Memorial Park at Van Ness Square. Come and join the Easter Bonnet Parade. Enjoy the music, arts, and crafts, and the guest of honor is the Easter Bunny. A Parks and Recreation Summer Job Fair was held yesterday. If you missed it and want to learn more about seasonal employment opportunities with the Village of Ridgewood, contact the Recreation Department at 201-670-5560 or go to their website. Recycling event for Bergen County residents, sponsored by Bergen County Utilities Authority, take place this Sunday, April 24th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., rain or shine, at Bergen Community College, 400 Paramus Road, Paramus, New Jersey. It will include mobile paper shredding, electronics and computers, and unwanted medication collection. This collection is for Bergen County residents only. ID is required. The Cash Out Memorial Shelf fundraiser will take place on Wednesday, April 6th. A portion of each check for lunch and dinner at the Steel Wheel Tavern will be donated to support the show. Please sign up for e-notices on the village website to keep informed about village events and timely notifications. Village Council upcoming meetings are broadcast live from the Village Hall courtroom on village website and Channel 34 on FiOS. The meetings are also available after the meeting on YouTube. Upcoming meetings include April 6th, Village Council Public Works Session at 7:30 p.m., April 13th, Village Council Public Meeting at 8 p.m., April 27th, Village Council Public Works Session at 7:30 p.m., and May 4th, Village Council Public Works Session at 7:30 p.m.
Thank you. Councilwoman Perrin?
Thank you, Mayor. The Open Space Committee, which is the committee that looks for properties that can become parkland, and the Parks and Recreation Conservation Board, which looks at how our parkland is used and maintained. These two committees are going to have their joint annual meeting on April 21st in the Youth Lounge downstairs, and the public is welcome to join us. We have a guest speaker who is Barbara Davis from the Land Conservancy of New Jersey. That organization has been hired by the village to draft the open space portion of the master plan, as well as an environmental resource inventory. So on that day, we'll be able to give our suggestions for what we need going forward in the future in terms of open space, parks, and recreation. If you would like to comment, and anybody in the public can put in their 2 cents, please email Barbara Davis before April 14th. Her address is bhdavis@tlc- not underscore, nj.org. And so we'd love to engage the community in this discussion of what the needs are going forward for our parks and open spaces. Green Ridgewood met and is planning the Daffodil Festival and Earth Day. We are going to have some really remarkable vendors. So we hope you can join us on April 10th. That's a Sunday. And there will be also EV cars displayed that anybody can take a look at. I did want to mention that the Ridgewood High School New Players Company put on 9 to 5, a musical, and they did such a good job. If you missed it, see if you can see their next production. I say that as a New Players alum, and they're just a terrific organization. The kids really learn so much. The Central Business District Advisory Committee, which is the committee that speaks to the council about matters in our downtown, met on March 10th, and we had various discussions, but of course the dining corrals came up, and the group decided that they would like to draft a memo, which they did, and made a recommendation to the council to reconsider the decision to discontinue the dining corrals. I support that recommendation because I see that even the League of Municipalities of New Jersey, which is the organization that teaches us, trains us how to be elected officials, said in their monthly magazine this month that COVID's not over and we need to still be flexible in using our outdoor spaces and our roadways. The CBDAC subcommittee on the pedestrian tunnel underneath the train tracks met, looked over, took pictures, met with the village engineer, and we're working on that. We don't they won't have a report just yet, but that is going forward. Also, the CBDAC has an opening for a business member. Any merchant who has a business downtown can apply. The village manager tells me that they are starting to accept applications for this volunteer position on the CBDAC at the end of this month. And so if you would like to apply, the form is on the website on the tile that says Employment and Volunteer Opportunities. If you click on that, that's where you can get the volunteer form. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Vagianos?
Thanks, Susan. I have the distinct pleasure of serving on a couple of really great committees. First one I'm going to talk about is stigma-free. I want to begin by saying that the Health Department has reported that we are at a moderate COVID level. We've been reduced from a high. We are not yet at a low, but we are trending in the right direction. And we're all very excited about that. Another thing I'm really excited about is the lifestyle challenge that the Health Department is sponsoring. And this is something that helps everyone get into better shape. And it works at everyone's different level. It's a great thing. They're doing it both live and by Zoom, so it's a hybrid model. And so it begins on April 7th. For those of you interested, Earth Day is April 10th. There will be celebrations around the village. The library is celebrating May, which is Older Americans Month. The theme this year is Age My Way. Something else that I'm very excited about, this will be the first year that we will be returning to when inner city children will be coming back to Graydon, which is an incredibly rewarding experience because many children don't have the opportunity to learn how to swim or have access to a public pool as our children do here. And this has been going on for a very long time. It was, of course, interrupted by COVID, but it is now back. And Ridgewood was recently named an up-and-coming healthy town by the New Jersey Healthcare Quality Institute. We're trying to raise that to a healthy town as opposed to an up-and-coming healthy town, but we're working on that. There will be a stigma-free sticker contest for middle schoolers on March 31st. Make sure you get your middle schoolers involved in this. There is a $300 first prize. I went to a great Parks and Rec meeting last night. There was a young man who we should all be proud of as part of our community. His name is Jack Schwartz. He is an Eagle Scout candidate, and his Eagle Scout project is to help refurbish Citizens Park. And he is going to rebuild benches there, clean up logs and debris, replant shrubs, and he is going to be doing this in coordination with the Parks Department. He has organized about a dozen volunteers to do this. He is going to be raising money, and he is going to be learning quite a bit while helping his community. Listening to him speak about it is one of those things that when you hear all the bad news going on in the world and you see a young man like this, you think to yourself, maybe we've got a shot. So it was really wonderful to listen to him, and we're all excited about it. The spring recreation programs will be are open. So Graydon Pool, tennis, pickleball, all the summer programs are online and open for registration now. And you can register at www.ridgewoodnj.net/communitypass. And as is always the case with the Parks Department, they're looking for more ways to get people involved and outdoors. And so this year they will be expanding into mini camps for many programs in the month of August, which we usually don't have a whole lot going on. So that's my report for tonight, and I'm very fortunate to be able to be involved in this. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Councilwoman Reynolds.
Thank you, Mayor. So last week, the Planning Board met on March 15th. We reviewed the facade paint color of the trim at 41 North Broad Street, which is the Bagelicious storefront. Towards the top of the building, there was a question. They painted the trim red, and then there were inside panels that they also painted red. And there was some discussion if it was too much red. But going back and forth, it was decided that it should stay. There was really no other color that would complement, and it would just look silly if we tried other colors. So it will remain. An application for minor site plan approval with variances to construct staircases on an existing building to access the rooftop as an open-air fitness area at 129 South Broad Street was presented to the board. This is the building that was the New York Sports Club. They were questioned about having an elevator to access the roof, but as they explained, it is not a requirement in buildings that are less than 3 floors. So it will be ADA compliant without an elevator. The business is called Phytometry, and it is not a chain. The business, it's not a chain. The owner, it's his first place. He's really excited. He seems like a great guy. He's been walking around the neighborhood, meeting a lot of people, and I think he's really invested in Ridgewood, and I'm excited to see this open. The board did vote to approve this application. We also reviewed a proposed ordinance to amend Chapter 190, Section 190-99 zoning map. The zoning map was last updated in June of 2012, so it really needed some tweaking. This was introduced and passed upon first reading of the March 9th Village Council meeting, and it will be considered for final passage at the April 13th Village Council meeting. The next planning board meeting is April 5th. This is exciting. I had the first meeting of the Project Pride Committee. We met last week. It was a very spirited group. There were 12 of us, and everyone is really excited to get moving and beautify the downtown. We spoke about having a table at Earth Day, which we will have April 10th, and we hope that many people will sign up to volunteer for our planting the downtown on May 22nd. So please come out to Earth Day, sign up to plant. If you can't come out, just email me at lreynolds@ridgewoodnj.net if you want to help out on the 22nd planting the pots in the CBD. We also discussed bringing back the hanging baskets on the light poles going up and down East Ridgewood Avenue, but unfortunately the light poles were changed by PSE&G several years ago, and they were changed with shall we say, a lighter pole. It's made out of aluminum instead of cast iron, and our village engineer, after doing some calculations, said that the poles cannot handle the weight of hanging baskets with the plants and the water in them. So unfortunately, we won't have them there, but the light poles that are in Van Ness Park are the older style cast iron, so we will have baskets on the poles in Van Ness, which I think will really make Van Ness beautiful. We had discussed native perennials as well as native annuals for the pots. It was decided that the native perennials are best for flower beds, but we are looking into native annuals for the pots. We're very lucky that we have a horticulture expert on the committee, and he's helping us with the type of flowers that are going to work best for the CBD. And another exciting thing is we're going to be bringing back the Sunflower Project Pride Award. For people who have lived here for many, many years, you probably have noticed, I think they haven't done it in maybe like 7-8 years, but there are sunflower stakes that are about 4 feet high, and people who create a beautiful front yard at their house get nominated for this award. We give out 6 to 8 awards every 2 weeks during the summer. So if you get lucky enough to get this award, you'll wake up one morning and you'll see a sunflower in your front garden, and you'll have it there for 2 weeks, and then it'll be gone and goes to the next house. So that's exciting. The next Project Pride meeting is March 31st at 7 p.m. at the Stable. We also had a Citizen Safety Advisory Committee meeting on March 17th. A few members of the committee have been working on banners from Smart Street, New Jersey, to be hung on the lampposts in the CBD. Those are lighter than the hanging baskets, so they work. And that'll be presented tonight. We have a couple people from the committee that are going to be presenting it. The West Glen Avenue Sidewalk Program will continue this spring with the sidewalks. We probably will not be completed this year, but they will continue with the sidewalks. Age Friendly had a Zoom meeting on March 9th to discuss the topic of bicycle riding on the sidewalk in the CBD. There were 9 people at the Zoom meeting, and the consensus was that sidewalk bike riding was unsafe and probably shouldn't be promoted. Age Friendly is going to pursue several things, such as educational programs to promote safe biking habits, learn to ride programs, walk your wheels, safety training using the school safety officer, having additional bike racks in the CBD if possible to facilitate walking through the CBD. The Easy Ride organization will be providing a bicycle program in coordination with the Board of Ed at select Ridgewood schools on May 14th. A resident at the meeting brought up the poor condition of the pavement along Franklin Avenue and the existing light signal at the Franklin Avenue and North Maple intersection, as we all know, is a rough intersection. The Franklin Avenue roadway is planned for repaving this year, so that's great. And there is a long-term Franklin Avenue corridor improvement project with Bergen County. That project includes the modernization of signals along Franklin Avenue. And we are waiting on the county as to a timeline for that project. The resident also brought up the recent pedestrian motor vehicle accident at East Ridgewood Avenue and Broad Street. He suggested the use of a 4-way stop sign. A discussion followed, but was limited since no factual information about the crash was available. A CSAC member offered to review the police report and bring the fact-finding information to the April meeting. Several contributing factors that reduce safety in the village were discussed. Items mentioned were distracted walking and driving, failure to stop for pedestrians in crosswalks, failure of pedestrians to give adequate advance notice of their crossing intentions, failure to make complete stops at stop signs, drivers making a right turn on red when there's a pedestrian in the crosswalk, and lastly, speeding are all contributing factors. It was discussed that enforcement of these contributing factors is really the key to help making our streets safer for all. So we are going to be talking with the police department and see if we can get some better enforcement on those items. The next CSAC meeting is April 21st at 7:30 in the Garden Room. That's it. Thank you. That was a lot.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Seaton.
Thank you, Mayor. The Green Team met last week, and we are getting closer to the first deadline submission for the Sustainable Jersey program. It's May 22nd, so everything is moving along smoothly. And the committee will meet April 5th to kind of consolidate around who's going to pursue which actions so we could get our points in and get our first submission and hopefully be recertified at a silver certification. The Community Center Advisory Board meets tomorrow at 5, and the Ridgewood Arts Council also meets tomorrow at 8. So I will have those for the next one, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm up. First, I want to speak to the Lifestyle Challenge. Yes, we are the recipient of the up-and-coming Lifestyle Award. We received a beautiful plaque. We're really excited, and a huge banner, so we'll pass that along to Dawn. I want to say the reason we actually rebranded us to the Lifestyle Challenge was to give us the opportunity to do better on the award. We previously were the Mayor's Weight Loss Challenge. We had really great participation. a really enthusiastic crew year in and year out. I have to say, so many people participated. They come to the weigh-in, they do all these wonderful things, but we felt it would be an opportunity to have a broader swath of the community if we changed it to lifestyle challenge and we didn't put that kind of stigma to a weight challenge with it. So we're hoping that everyone will join and participate on that. The planning board, also April 5th, Higher Gruel will be present to review the preliminary master plan document. I believe we will be missing only our open space. I'm not sure that we will have anything from open space at this point. We have set a schedule for the review, the final plan, and a public hearing for that. So we're working on that. It will be properly noticed, and we once again look forward to everybody coming and participating. So mark your calendars. That is April 5th. The Library Board of Trustees met last night. We learned at the Friends of the Library, the annual reading marathon included 1,600 participants with a total of 36,000 books read, which is pretty amazing, but the number is off from quite some time from past years. The belief is that the numbers are slightly declining due to moving from a paper form, log form, to online system. So teachers in the schools aren't actually seeing what the kids are logging in terms of their reading, and so it's kind of causing a little bit of drop-off. So we're going to try and troubleshoot and have that resolved. Luncheon tickets are almost sold out. The last day of sales will likely be this Friday. As a reminder, the Friends of the Ridgewood Public Library will be hosting the Wednesday, April 6, 2022, 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Homegoing and Transcending Kingdom Seasons Restaurant, 644 Pascack Road, Washington Township. You can go to... It's actually just go to the Friends of the Ridgewood Library, the Ridgewood Public Library, if you want to purchase tickets. But please join us and do it quickly because those tickets will be gone in very short order. It does promise to be a really exciting event. I believe there will be slightly over 40 gift baskets and prizes for the, what do you call that? Tricky tray, and silent auction. So please come, please be there. It'll be a wonderful event as always. The Pease Library RFP went out, and we have two respondents, two very highly qualified respondents to the RFP. The board is evaluating and will make a recommendation to the Village Council, so hopefully we'll have that done soon. I just want to thank Nancy Green and our village attorney for getting that out and taken care of so quickly. We're very fortunate to have two respondents, and we look forward to that being taken care of. Access met this past Thursday. We continue to explore options for employment opportunities for members of our special needs community. We have looked at a variety of options to see if we could encourage businesses to invest in something like a thrift shop or something downtown. And so we're working with a couple of downtown business owners and landlords to see if we can make that come to fruition. It would be a really great opportunity given our the special needs housing that we've just completed working with the United Way and Madeline House. So we're really excited, and hopefully we can get that done. Also, I wanted to point out that the photometry application, it was a site plan review application, right? Site plan? Minor site plan application review. Access, we also did discuss the elevator. Because I think the planning board, in fairness, when in speaking about the elevator, we understood that this was cost prohibitive for the owner of the new business, and if he were in a position of having to install that elevator, in all likelihood, he may not have been able to continue with this very important and exciting project, which replaces the old New York Sports Club. So we think it's a really great project, but in talking to Access Committee members, we thought maybe we would reach out for the village attorney, and not now, but at a later time, to see if we can adopt ordinances that would require elevators be installed on buildings, commercial buildings that are more than 2 stories. And the owner of photometry is just lovely, and very enthusiastic. And he did point out that the amenities on the rooftop would be the same amenities sans the sunshine. So that's the only one that won't be up there. So, but the amenities will be the same, and we just look forward and welcome him to our Ridgewood business community. We're excited. And finally, the Village of Ridgewood is excited to announce, I know a lot of people may have read it already in the paper, that we have are the recipient of a state and tribal assistance grant through the federal government. This was a federal grant opportunity for our PFAS treatment. It's a shovel-ready project. Last year, just about a year ago, it was April 9th, 2021, our Congressman Josh Gottheimer had organized a meeting of elected officials to review different grant opportunities, and as he was doing that, I realized it was this STAG grant that we were actually eligible for on a shovel-ready water department project. And I think we had less than a week to get our application, our grant application submitted. And I just want to thank Rich Calby, everyone from Ridgewood Water, our village manager, for helping to get that accomplished. It was an amazing effort in very short order. I also want to thank those who wrote letters of support. We needed to have letters of support included in our application, so I would like to formally thank my council colleagues. I believe Councilwoman Perrin, Deputy Mayor Seaton, Councilwoman Reynolds, and former Councilwoman Walsh all wrote letters. Commissioner Hache was kind enough to write a letter. All of the mayors in our service area, Midland Park, Wyckoff, and Glenrock, all wrote letters. And I want to especially thank our Board of Education members for also writing letters. I think 4 that are currently now there, and Chris Kaufman is no longer there, but they too wrote letters. And without those letters of support, our application would not have been complete. And they leaned in very quickly, and the letters were perfect. And we're grateful to Congressman Gottheimer, his amazing staff, and to Senator Menendez for getting this through. It was an amazing opportunity for us to watch this as it worked its way through Congress, Senate, and then back to Congress. But we are truly, truly grateful for them. It's $2.8 million for a shovel-ready project for PFAS clean drinking water. So thank you, Rich Calby, and thank you to my council colleagues for those letters, and to everyone. We really appreciate it.
Mayor, can I ask a question about the higher gruel presentation?
Absolutely.
On April 5th?
Yes.
Will there be a document available beforehand that people can read, or is it just a presentation in the courtroom?
It will be a presentation and a preliminary review for input, but I will get back to you. I will firm all of this up with John Barry from Higher Gruel, and I will let you know for sure what we will have available. Very good. Okay. With that, are we going to a special meeting, right?
Yep.
Okay, very good. So I will take a motion to, we need to go to a special public meeting. I'm sorry?
Suspend the work session.
Right, a motion to suspend the work session?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
Vagianos?
Yes.
And Knudsen?
Yes. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's a special public meeting of the Village Council, the Village of Ridgewood, March 23rd, 2022. The time is 8:24 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled. Same is provided by law of a schedule, including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Councilwoman Perrin?
Here.
Councilwoman Reynolds?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Seaton?
Here.
Councilman Vagianos?
Here.
And Mayor Knudsen?
Here. And with that, we will turn it over to Rich Calby.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to do a brief introduction while our consultant gets set up. He's going to...
I'm sorry, Rich, if I could just interrupt you for 1 second.
Yeah.
For the scoping hearing, the prior meeting had to be adjourned. That's what just happened?
Yes.
Okay,
it just
great.
happened.
Thank you.
We're good.
Great.
Is the microphone on?
Testing?
Is there a green light at the bottom?
Yes?
It's on. You
Good.
just need to speak very closely into it.
Chris, is your presentation going to be up on the screen? Perfect. Okay.
There we go.
So just to give an outline while that's queuing up, Tonight we have Chris Colley of Topology. Topology is our consultant that is working on this Green Acres application. The application requires a public scoping hearing, which is now taking place. The reason for this presentation and the scoping hearing is for our Linwood replacement well, which is located in a public park, and a park that's listed on the village's recreational and open space inventory. The Linwood replacement well requires a diversion of approximately 100 square feet. Mr. Colley will get into the specifics regarding the location and why there's no other alternatives for this well placement. Additionally, the well was required to be replaced as part of the U.S. EPA administrative consent order. So being the need for that and the results that could have been fines without drilling the well, it was necessary. So we'll move forward with the presentation, and then we'll open the public hearing, an opportunity for anybody in the public to ask questions or make comments. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Rich, and good evening, members of council, mayor, deputy mayor, members of the public. As Rich said, my name is Chris Colley. I work for a planning firm called Topology. We're based in Newark. Happy to be here this evening to talk to you about this matter. So you're going to have to bear with me because there are some sort of statutory type things I need to just cross out of the way. But I do have a short presentation, 6-7 minutes. We'll open it to public comment, and then for any folks that weren't able to attend in person this evening, there will be continued public comment through April 6th on this matter. So as Rich said, this is a scoping hearing for a major diversion, Green Acres diversion. The state is very specific about the things that need to take place in this scoping hearing, so my presentation will be aligned with those. But generally, I need to explain to you that the purpose of this hearing is to accept public comment on a major disposal or diversion of parkland. I need to describe to you that diversion, including the scope of the area that's being diverted and the parkland from which it's being diverted. I need to set forth a compelling public need and benefit for you and for the public to understand, walk through some alternatives that were considered, and then finally close with opening to public comment, as I mentioned. So here we go. Okay, so as I said, scope of the hearing. Accepting public comment on this major disposal, and this particular proposed diversion that we're discussing this evening relates to the construction of a new well, which we're going to refer to throughout the evening as the Linwood well, which is located on portions of Maple Park and Graydon Parks. You see those here on the map. You know them quite well. They're right across the street, right? So the lands that are affected by this, and you'll see a more detailed map on the next slide, include roughly 1/100th of an acre of Maple Park and roughly 2/100th of an acre of Graydon Park, lots 1 and 3 respectively. A portion of that area which is affected is subsurface, a subsurface easement, which is required as part of this Linwood well project. And again, you'll see that on the map in a moment. And I'll just note, we're here specifically to talk about what Green Acres calls the major element of the diversion, and that's the new well, which has already been installed by Ridgewood Water. There's a second component to this, which does not require a scoping hearing, but since we're here, if I could tell you about it, which is a minor diversion, and that is the subsurface easement. So all told, the areas which will be affected by this project is about 1,466 square feet. And if I can get the pointer, no, pointer doesn't work on the screen. But if you see, so what you're seeing on this map is you're seeing a purple outlined box, right? That's the entirety of the diversion area, both the major and the minor diversion. Now at the top of the screen, you're seeing a square that's labeled Linwood Well. That's the area which is the quote-unquote major diversion. It's a roughly 100 square foot area, and that's where Ridgewood Water installed the new well to support the existing Linwood well house, which is the square more in the middle of the screen, which is also labeled. The sort of dotted line connecting the two is a subsurface main, which is required for the operation of the new well to connect back to the existing well house. So the major diversion, 100 square feet up top, and then the minor diversion is roughly 1,366 square feet of subsurface easement between the two. So, folks are local. You might know this well house well, but it's been there since about the 30s. And really the reason why all of this has come about, which Rich touched on a little bit earlier, is there's an administrative consent order which the village and Ridgewood Water is under from the EPA to make improvements to this Linwood well, dealing with changes in standards, changes in water quality. That consent order included timelines for implementation, which Ridgewood Water obviously had to meet. There's a need for proximity to the existing well, which is why this new which is why this new well is located on the same parkland. And of course, since that well house has been there since the 1930s, Ridgewood Water didn't really have sort of a blank slate to work off of in terms of where to locate it. Public need and benefit in this case, obviously providing adequate supply of quality and compliant drinking water is like as fundamental of a public service as local governments or any entities provide. This replacement well is necessary for Ridgewood Water to continue to do that and to continue to service the community's needs. I think it's pretty open and shut argument that the continued provision of quality drinking water is an essential public need, a vital public need, and a sufficient public need to warrant the proposed diversion. In terms of the alternatives that are faced in this matter, and actually I'll just, before I get into that, you can actually see the both items in question in this image. That's the well house on the left, right? And if you look on the right, you see a little fenced-in area. That's the well that has been installed, which is necessitating the major diversion. In terms of alternatives, as I mentioned, there was an administrative consent order which Ridgewood Water needed to comply with. That dates back to roughly 2016 or so. Ridgewood Water did commission an alternatives analysis, which one of the engineering firms, Egarian and Associates, completed in 2017. That considered a variety of different alternatives: rehabilitating the well house at the current location, drilling a new well within a 50-foot radius, which is ultimately what you see, rehabilitating and drilling a new well and relocating the well house elsewhere in the park, to grade and pool lot, same option but to the North Maple lot, converting a different grade and pool well into a productive well, or abandoning the Linwood well. So they did consider these alternatives in this process. Frankly, where we stand today, facing this diversion, the well is in, right, and needed to be in for the purpose of them complying with their consent order. So alternatives standing here on whatever it is, March 22nd, right, 2022, 23rd, are limited or non-existent, right, because the well is in. This is an after-the-fact diversion. I'll note one of the obligations is to sort of speak about, to the extent you know, what compensation will be required to satisfy this diversion. In this case, given the scale of the diversion, we've been in talks with Green Acres, and it's going to be purely a cash compensation to the Garden State Parklands Trust or Preservation Trust to resolve these major and minor diversion components. For resolving the major and minor diversion components, I think. Yeah, right. So that generally concludes the actual material that I wanted to walk you through. However, I would like to just walk through the actual process for if folks would like to submit comments about alternative sites or alternative means of satisfying the project objectives. You can submit written comments to Ridgewood Water, attention of Richard Calby, 131 North Maple Avenue, Ridgewood, New Jersey, 07450, or email Rich at rcalby@ridgewoodnj.net. If you do so, we also ask that you send a copy of that email to DEP, maud.snyder@dep.nj.gov, or mail to her address, NJ Department of Environmental Protection, Green Acres Program, Bureau of Legal Services and Stewardship, P.O. Box 420, Mailbox 40107B, Trenton, New Jersey 086250420. Attention, Bergen County Steward. You can either make comments this evening, or you can follow those instructions, which I just read out loud, and submit comments until April 6th, 2022. So that concludes the formal material that I have, and I'm happy to take questions or comments from council or members of the public. Thank you.
Okay. So first question, can we put this up onto the website with all that information so that if anyone does want to participate in the written public comment, they have the details, so we can get that done hopefully tomorrow, I guess? Okay. So just in terms of procedural accuracy, do we open the public, I guess I open a public hearing because that's what we need to do. I'm sorry, you're done with your presentation, correct?
For the scoping hearing, yes, I am.
Okay, very good. The public hearing on the diversion of Green Acres property is now open. Yeah, come on up. Yeah.
Chris, if you want, you could sit here. That way the public can come up.
I'm Jim Bossler, 821 Newcomb. I'm on the Open Space Committee, and I am the secretary for the Open Space Committee. The comments I want to make are just really sort of as a cautionary statement, only because of the problems we've had with diversion before. We're in the process now of being, I think it's about 5 to 10 years, of solving the last time that we made a diversion and we miscalculated the amount of property, and we were underneath the qualifications to get funding from the state. And so now it's taken us like at least 5 years to get back to where we can get access to some of those funds. So my only point here is anyone talking with Pam or with Ralph Curry regarding the specifications that we have within our current situation for our total open space as a percentage of our total village, which is a primary criteria for getting access to some of those funds. So I'd hate to have to go finish off one diversion and have to go through a whole other diversion process. That's my only comment.
Thank you.
So I want to ask a question to Jim's point. So on the current diversion issue, and Matt, I guess, can speak to this. He was surprised he was going to have to speak to this. Did you see that? Sorry. In terms of the difference between the existing diversion issue and this is that presumably there was never the diversion problem that we have was something that was uncovered accidentally, and so there was never any hearing. The process wasn't followed, and so I think there's a very big difference here with how we're handling this to make certain we get it right. So I guess I'm asking, I want to see that that's confirmed, because I don't think that when we're doing things procedurally the right way now. So I don't know if we can speak to that.
Well, I think they're distinct processes, because with the previous diversion, the one that I think Jim Bossler was referring to, there was an issue with regard to replacing the property that had been inverted. This is not the same, doesn't seem to have, from Chris's presentation, doesn't seem to have the same tenets to that the other diversion process did. I think one of the difficulties over the long period of time that we were dealing with the other diversion was finding appropriate property to exchange. And there were a number of different suggestions made to DEP, and some of them were refuted, some of them were worked with, but I think that's really one of the reasons why that took a much longer time period. This is, I think, a much more simpler aspect of that, and I think the process with the council with regard to bringing this before the council, having the public hearing here, and the like, it's really up to the village in terms of how we approach it, and what next steps are taking. I think from what I've heard, I haven't been involved in it completely, but what I've heard, Chris is doing a great job with regard to leading us on that. And, I don't think that you're going to be looking at I can never say never, but I don't think you're going to be looking at a 10-year fix on this. So this seems to be a little bit more straightforward. Obviously, the use of this was an existing, even preceded the open space issues with the initial well being built back in the 1930s, and then just having a mandated upgrade from DEP to drill another well. All those other aspects are all public purposes, which is much different than what we had seen with the other matter. So.
Thank you, and thank you, Jim. It was a great question, and really, I think something that we all grapple with, and so we appreciate that.
There's also a distinguishing factor here in that the EPA, in an administrative court order, had directed Ridgewood Water to replace the well.
That's what I said, mandated.
Yeah, so we kind of didn't have a choice. I don't remember, why was the Linwood well closed, the original one?
So due to the age of the well, it malfunctioned over time, and actually the well pump was stuck in the well and could not be removed. So we had to abandon the existing well and drill a new one.
Well, I want to thank Topology for this presentation, because until I saw these pictures, I just couldn't conceive of the layout and what was happening. So this really clarifies it, and I appreciate it.
Okay. The public hearing is still open, so anyone else? Okay. Did you have anything? No. Oh, okay, good. I move the public hearing be closed.
I second the motion.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
Knudsen.
Yes, and with that, we'll take a motion to adjourn the special public meeting.
So move.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
Knudsen.
Yes. Okay, and now we're back. So thank you very much. Thank you. With that, we're going to go on to our presentation. We can move to our presentation, right? So we have our Citizen Safety Advisory Committee presenting banners in the Central Business District. So we have Jane Remus and Anastasia Bamberg. So why don't you two come on up? Just make sure those microphones have the green light. Push the button, Anastasia. Jane, there's a little button on the bottom of the microphone.
Do they turn on?
Yours is on, Anastasia?
Testing.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. So welcome, and the floor is yours.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Anastasia. I'm Bamberg and a CSAC member. And this is a project we've been talking about, I think, for about a year. So I'd like to start with just a general statement about pedestrian safety. It's a concern nationwide, and especially in New Jersey, where the federal government has actually designated New Jersey a pedestrian-focused state because we have nearly double the national average in pedestrian fatalities. Last year, New Jersey had the highest number of pedestrian fatalities in 30 years. And this year's statistics, year-to-date, show a 10% increase. You also don't have to look further than the comments made during the new master plan survey process or during our monthly CSAC meetings to know that there is a concern about pedestrian safety in our village. Street Smart New Jersey is one of the many initiatives that are going on now in New Jersey to help New Jersey reach its goal of 0 pedestrian fatalities. It is a public education, awareness, and behavioral change pedestrian safety campaign created by the New Jersey Transportation Planning Authority, urging pedestrians and drivers to keep safety in mind when traveling New Jersey roads and streets. There are a number of different ways that communities can participate, and more than 200 communities in New Jersey have participated in some way since the program's inception. We're proposing tonight that Ridgewood participate in the campaign by displaying pedestrian safety banners in the Central Business District. There are 6 different banners, and you can see some up on the screen. There are 3 that are focused on pedestrians and 3 aimed at drivers. And the core message is walk smart, drive smart, be street smart. Some of the specific messages include: we look before crossing, heads up, phones down, we slow down for safety, we stop for people, it's the law, we use crosswalks, we cross at corners, we cross at the light, and we wait for the walk sign. We're proposing to hang the 2-sided banners for 6 weeks in the spring, starting soon, and 6 weeks in the fall, on 12 light poles in the Central Business District that are equipped with the sleeves to hold banners. And we hope to get funding through private donations after we get the council's support.
The banner's messages will reach both Ridgewood residents and the many non-residents who drive on our village streets. The presence of those banners in many other New Jersey communities serves to reinforce their message, which is important because education and repetition are key to their success. Evaluations of previous Street Smart New Jersey campaigns have shown positive results. Based on an analysis of campaigns in 2018 and 2019, there was a 60% improvement in drivers stopping for people crossing before turning at a red light or stop sign, and there was also a 40% improvement in drivers stopping for pedestrians before turning at a green signal, and 20% reduction in the number of pedestrians crossing unsafely against a signal or outside of crosswalk. Although there are many possible facets to this campaign, it's not just the banners. We feel that the banners are a good start. We would love to get the village, the community, and business leaders, some organizations, and private citizens involved in the Street Smart effort, spreading the word through grassroots public awareness, social media, and public outreach efforts. And we ask the village to consider supporting these banners and helping to improve pedestrian safety. Thanks.
Thank you. So,
and this is the size of them, just so you have a general idea of.
So, okay, how many total banners in total?
There are 6 different banners, and I don't know if they can be switched so you see the other ones. There's the drive ones are like a bright green and just like silhouettes because you don't want drivers to take their eyes off the road. And then the pedestrian ones are more photos that, because pedestrians generally are stopped at a corner and they can take a closer look.
And these are 2-sided, right?
These are going to be 2-sided, right? So you'd see it from both sides as you're driving or walking down Ridgewood Avenue.
And what was the total you were going to order?
We were going to order 12 because there are 12 bracket poles that we counted.
And what is the cost for those?
Each one is $35.
Okay. Okay. Questions, everyone? Feel free.
I think this is terrific because I do believe reinforcement is very important. The problem with Ridgewood Avenue and Old Main Streets is that they appear safe, and there's nothing more dangerous than that which appears safe because people aren't as careful. There's one issue that I was wondering if you could address in these banners, because I think they're all terrific. One of my personal concerns is watching people cross the street in a crosswalk while texting. We say, drive smart, phones down, heads up, phones down. But people in a crosswalk are texting constantly. They're not looking. They are assuming, because they're in a crosswalk, that they are safe. And of course, all you need is now a driver to be making a mistake, whatever that is. We've all made mistakes driving. Is it possible to include that kind of a message in this, or are these already done?
Well, these were designed by the Street Smart New Jersey, but I thought there was one of the banners that were for the pedestrians. We cross at the light, we cross at corners. Are there 2 more? We wait for the walk. That's all they sent. I thought there was one that said heads, like.
It was for drivers.
For the drivers,
It was
right,
the drivers.
right.
And again, these are terrific, and if this is what we've got, that's great.
But you're absolutely right that's so important.
It's such a
problem.
grave concern of
Yeah.
mine. I'm on Ridgewood Avenue as often as anybody, and it's just it's such a persistent issue. So what I would say is, I completely support this. If it can be included, great. If it can't be included, I still support it.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Thanks, Jean and Anastasia. Yeah, I love them. I think it's a great idea, and can't wait to see them up.
My question is, will they be on both sides of town or just on Ridgewood Avenue?
Well, right now, I don't think there are any light poles with the brackets on the west side, so
I see.
I'd love to put them on the west side, too.
Mm-hmm. And are businesses going to be able to sponsor these, or you're not doing that?
Well, they can make a donation, but we can't put any advertising on the banner.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
The other thing that a lot of other towns have, not what we're proposing, which is to put them in those brackets, but they actually have like what's it called, a foam core, like signs that you can put like down, attach it with a tie to the light poles that are there. So that's a possibility for the west side, is to just, if we can't do these, we can do something alternative that would help.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, some towns put it right like on the walk signal post, they'll put the pedestrian signs right there. So if you're looking for it, you can see.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking to see
And how long would these remain up? Because I know that those brackets are used for other messages during the course of the year, or would they come down and come back up? What are you proposing?
Yeah, we're proposing to put them up for about 6 weeks in the spring, take them down so that people don't just stop looking at them, and then put them up again in the fall, maybe late September, October, for another 6 weeks, when people are outside, the weather's nice, and they're walking again.
Good plan.
That's
Thank
the
you.
plan.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. It's a great initiative. Thank you for your work on it.
Thank you.
So I totally support. I think that actually we should look at the funding of these and determine whether or not this is something that the village can just fund. I think that would just ease this as a burden for everyone. I think that's something the village should be behind, so we'll see if that's doable. I think it's brilliant to take them down and rotate them, because I think the message doesn't become stale, and it just reminds people. I just want to know, we only have 12 of the lampposts with the sleeves, because I thought we had more. I thought we had a lot more, because we ordered banners a couple of years ago for, it was the Historic Central Business District. I think we ordered them in 2016 or 17. I know they're somewhere, but I thought we had lots of those. And then we also had one of our wellness campaigns, we also had those on those lampposts with the sleeves. So I thought we had a lot more than just 12. So maybe we can find out tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't. I've been down walking the CBD so much lately, looking at things for Project Pride, and I've been specifically looking at the brackets for the hanging baskets, and I did notice a lot of them that had the brackets for the banners, but I didn't count. But you and Sheila walked downtown and counted?
Yes, we counted, but, maybe we didn't count every one. We counted the ones that had the holiday banners on them at the time, and maybe the snowflakes might have been hiding some. I'm not really sure.
That's possible.
Yeah, but it's possible. We're also, concerned about, you don't want to put them, every, 10 feet and have people just, ignore them.
It really would be nice to have them on the west side, though, as well as the
yeah.
east side. So you don't think any of the light poles have them on the west side?
I don't think so, but those foam core posters are a good option, because what some villages do in New Jersey is they'll not that we necessarily do this on the west side, but they'll take them down because unlike the ones we're proposing, you can use them anywhere, and they might put them up somewhere else, like when 6 weeks have gone by, put them up on Franklin, or put them up on Broad somewhere that it has.
But how would the foam core be attached? Because the PSE&G is very particular about what they allow, and I think Chris has to do some sort of, calculation with wind load. I mean, I can't imagine the foam boards would be heavy, but also the other thing I'm thinking, like at what height would they be put? I don't know if they would be a visual blockage to, the banners are up higher. I don't know.
They have them in Westwood and I think Fairlawn, and I've seen them in Bradley Beach. They're like my eye height, I'd say, so maybe 5 feet off the ground.
Okay.
And
so to me, that's kind of almost like a driving, like visual,
right.
that
but for
5
pedestrians,
feet height.
like on the walk signal posts, it might not be because they're like a little further back on the sidewalk. It's just a thought, but
the one thing I think when you put them onto the sign, like to strap them onto something, I think they get lost in the visual noise because we have a lot of signage, and to just add more signage, but when they're up, it's just kind of out there. It's just a little bit cleaner, and the message is not distracted or lost in all of that noise, that visual noise. So I think it's a better approach. So why don't we just, I think that we're good. We're excited.
Great.
Okay.
And maybe we can check with the engineering department to see if there are more of those brackets somewhere that were not installed, maybe?
I think they're there. I just think that it's possible they were behind the snowflakes, because I know we ordered more than 12 of the historic Central Business District banners, and I definitely know we had more than 12 of the what is the white, the lifestyle, good something Ridgewood.
Good Life?
Good Life Ridgewood. Yes, the Good Life Ridgewood. We had those on many poles. So I think maybe we just missed them. Hopefully they're not broken, but I think we should find out how many we have, and then, if we want to modify, or it may be better, just to figure out if we could do more.
right.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay,
Well, we can get that information tomorrow, right? Yeah.
Thank
okay.
you. I would think that the engineering department would know, or signal.
Traffic and, signal.
Somebody would
All right.
know
We'll
how many.
We'll touch base tomorrow. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
you so much.
Okay. Now to our regular agenda.
Okay, discussion items, Ridgewood Water. The first item is the award of contract for printing of PFAS public notices. Ridgewood Water is required to send quarterly public notices to all consumers regarding the PFAS drinking water contamination. Ridgewood Water solicited 3 quotations from local printers. The low quote was from Ridgewood Press for the quarterly printing costs and postage, recommending an award of a contract to Ridgewood Press for the printing of 4 quarterly notices for 2022. Funding is accounted for in the Water Department operating budget.
Okay. Any questions?
I sort of have a question, Rich. Not really about this, but I noticed on Facebook, we got a flyer in the mail yesterday, and on Facebook, people were freaking out, for lack of a better word, as if they had not heard about this, that it was the first time ever. So I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming that those Zoom presentations that you held the last time are on the Ridgewood Water website that people can go and watch?
They're not. They weren't recorded, but we're going to possibly plan another one.
Okay, because they were great. And if you could record it, I think it's a wonderful thing for people to be directed to help alleviate some fears that they may have.
Yeah, I agree with Lorraine. We really need to get the word out there. And we talked about this at the budget hearing, that to put people's minds at ease, that first, that this is a problem we're ahead of the curve on resolving, but second, this isn't a Ridgewood water problem. This is a water problem across the nation and around the world.
Correct.
And Rich, if you don't have recordings of the forums that you've given before, I think your speaking is what reassures people the most. You could do your own little video, and people would love to hear what you have to say. Also, we did receive an email from a resident who was very upset about the situation, but also said he was having trouble getting through on the phones. So,
The village phone system is in the midst of being updated. The project's a little bit behind. That might partially be the reason why there might have been a problem getting in touch, because the older system is failing. But we're hopefully days away from the new one switching over.
And Rich and I actually had a conference call with the resident today and went through everything, and it was interesting because I think it was we allayed the concerns of the resident, but I also think we then engaged in that same discussion about redoing the forum and going back and making that information public, because when we start to explain that it's not just a Ridgewood issue, it is a nationwide, it's a worldwide issue, and we went through everything with that resident. I think there was a much better understanding of what the notice is, why the notice comes out, where the PFAS came from, all the implications of the forever chemicals, and so I think we had concluded that it was probably best to move forward with another one, so we'll get that on the calendar.
Yes,
Great.
definitely. The first three we did last time were well attended, over 100 people at each session.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's the opportunity even to find even just a little short slideshow, like just a little brief, 30-second clip that goes, a couple of seconds per slide. Sometimes you can encapsulate something in that, and it makes it easy for people to just digest it and understand it, and then, move accordingly.
Thank you. Move on to the next item. Okay. All right, second item under Ridgewood Water is award year 2 of contract for cold water meters and accessories. This is for the provision of those items for Ridgewood Water. Recommending award of year 2 to Rio Supply in the amount of $214,642.50. Funding for this contract is budgeted for in the water utility operating budget.
Questions, anyone?
Are hot water meters separate?
Hot water meters?
Yeah.
Cold water meters. There are no hot. No, there's no hot water meters.
Okay, thank you.
Third item is award sole source contract, corrosion inhibitor, ESC 532. The lead and copper rule from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection mandates that Ridgewood Water maintain a corrosion control program. Corrosion control is a treatment process in which small amounts of phosphate inhibitors are added to the water in order to prevent corrosion. The inhibitor is injected into the water system prior to entering distribution. Phosphates create a thin coating on the inside of plumbing materials, effectively preventing the corrosion of lead and copper into the water. Ridgewood Water utilizes polyorthophosphate to control corrosion in the system. The formula utilized is ESC 532, manufactured by ESC Environmental of Glenville, New York. In 2016, Ridgewood Water installed the inhibitor at all of the active treatment facilities and has seen lead and copper levels reduce significantly below New Jersey DEP action limits. The last round of sampling resulted in non-detect levels. ESC Environmental uses a unique blend of phosphates and orthophosphate that is developed and distributed solely through their company. Utilizing a consistent formula via the same blend is important for Ridgewood Water to maintain corrosion control. Varying treatment formulas can alter the system characteristics and void the protections afforded by the time of use with the current inhibitor. This is a recommendation for a sole source contract with ESC Environmental of Glenville, New York, in the amount of $185,000 for the year 2022. Funding for this purchase is also budgeted in the water operating account.
Okay. Questions, anyone?
Yeah, Rich, just out of curiosity, obviously polyorthophosphate is safe, but just reconfirm that for me because it doesn't sound so natural.
Sure. No. All these chemicals are NSF approved, and they're actually food-grade products that are utilized in the water. And you'll find them in many other, food production. So
food-rated was the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Yes. The next item is the refund of an overpayment to a water account. The customer for this account erroneously paid an amount of $1,763.17 to their account on February 17th of 2022. Any refunds over $1,000 require the approval of the Ridgewood Mayor and Council. As a result, a credit is due back to the account holder of $1,649.95 because there was some money owed on the account.
Anyone? Okay.
The next item is for parking. Request for changes to parking ordinance from the village engineer. The new Ridgewood Water headquarters are under construction at 111 North Maple Avenue. I requested the village engineer to prepare a parking ordinance for the 3 parking spaces that will be located on North Maple Avenue in front of the new building. The proposed ordinance is in front of you for consideration. It will memorialize the proposed parking spaces as well as making the entrance driveway to the new headquarters from North Maple Avenue as one way. The new spaces will be marked 30-minute time limit parking Monday to Friday, except holidays, between 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. The time limit is recommended to preserve those spaces for customers that need to come in to pay the bill or make a request to customer service.
So I just have a couple questions. So one of those spaces will be a handicap space, I assume?
Correct.
Okay. And I know when this came up at the planning board, there was a question of the width of Maple in front of the water department versus the width in front of the village hall. Do we know if it's the same or if it's narrower?
I don't have the dimension, but the engineer confirmed that it's safe to go ahead with this ordinance, and I actually brought a photograph that I could pass around that shows a tractor trailer parked there with a car passing it safely on the side of the yellow lines, if anybody
Thank you.
wants to see that.
And then just to confirm, so the driveway is going to be a one-way, so in order to get out, they're going to have to make a left into the library parking lot and come out.
Correct, and that will only be Ridgewood Water vehicles.
Okay,
All
so
public
nobody else will be allowed down that driveway?
Correct, they'll be signed, say, authorized vehicles only. The intent with the one-way was not to have any vehicles coming out onto North Maple by that crosswalk.
Right. No, I think that's a great idea.
So just maybe I missed it. Yeah, I was always okay with that. That's funny. So will these be marked Ridgewood Water, parking only, Monday through Friday?
They'll just be marked with the time limit, Monday through Friday, except holidays and weekends.
Okay, all right.
I'm glad the engineer measured it because as I approach that area coming from the south, it does look pretty narrow. And even in your photograph, the car is coming back from over the double yellow line in order to pass that vehicle. So I do hope it's safe.
I I have very bad spatial about how wide my car is, so I don't know how wide a truck is. I have a big, I think my car is like 10 feet wide, and I don't know why. I know it's not.
I could have the village
I just have a really
engineer.
bad spatial thing.
Yeah, I could have him reconfirm the measurements and present those to you at the next
Yeah,
work session.
I guess to the councilwoman's question, how wide is the truck? I mean, how wide is a truck? I don't know. Because
yeah.
usually you would have a car parked there. So, and it looks like the other car is going farther out than it actually had to. It looks like there's a lot of space between the truck and the car, but just wondering, I don't know.
I mean, we can
Maybe you can just have Chris reconfirm the spacing and the distances.
I think what Rich was going for with the picture is a tractor trailer is pretty much the biggest thing on wheels that you could drive on a road legally. So if the tractor trailer could be parked there, presumably most of the time, 95% of the time, there will be cars parked there. So cars are much smaller than tractor trailers. So if somebody can get around the tractor trailer safely now, then all the rest of the time cars will be able to get around cars even safer. I think that's what he was going with the picture of the tractor trailer.
I've tried to find the worst scenario.
Show an extreme example of what's still safe.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
we're good.
We'll get that information. Next item is under budget, award of contract animal control services and waterfowl management through June 30th of 22. The village entered into a 2-year contract in June of 2020 for animal control services and waterfowl management. The contract will expire June of 22. The recommendation from the Director of Health is to approve this contract through June of this year. The annual charge is $31,800, broken down $26,800 for animal control and $5,000 for waterfowl management, for a total of $31,800.
Any questions?
Yeah, in the proposed ordinance, it says 32,400.
That's for the next one, I think.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Okay. The next item under budget is the award of the same contract, but for the contract period of July 1st, 22 through June 30th of 24. The pricing has a slight increase of $50 per month. It'll be $32,400 per year, broken down at $27,400 for animal control and $5,000 for waterfowl management. Next one is award contract of horticultural supplies. Contract was recommended and awarded in May of 21. This is for the second year of that contract, an amount not to exceed of $48,500 to Site 1 Landscape Supply of Mahwah, New Jersey. A recommendation from the Director of Parks and Recreation to award year 2 of the contract.
I have a question about this, because I talked to Bob Rooney yesterday. I thought this was going to be changed. Eileen, did he? Okay. Because in the Project Pride budget, it shows that $16,000 was going to be awarded to Project Pride, and here it says $8,000, which is not going to be enough. So he said, "You're right. You know, he got out the budget, and he was like, yep, it was $16,000."
So this is on for our next public meeting, so we can modify this, have it sent first, and then make sure everyone is okay with it, and then we'll vote. Right. So we can, when we do it at the public, we'll have the corrected version for the public meeting.
Okay.
Good.
Can you just repeat that amount again? What was the amount? You said it.
Well, it was 16, but Bob and I talked. I mean, 16 is probably too, more than enough. We were thinking of making it 13,000. So adding 5 to the Project Pride and bringing the not to exceed 35,500, and then Project Pride amount would be not to exceed 13,000.
And
he was going to talk to Nancy, and after I talked to him, he said I'll work it out with Nancy, so.
Right.
Eileen just pointed out that our next meeting is a work session, so we can just put it on that agenda.
Yeah, we can get a corrected version. As long as we have the correct version
Yep.
when we vote on it at the next public
Okay.
meeting, we're good.
All right, I just didn't know whether I needed to say
Stay on
something
top of
today or
that,
not.
you know. Okay.
Actually, a corrected version was submitted today. It was
Oh.
too late for the meeting.
Okay.
You want to pass?
Bang.
And does it say
Wait, you wanna
13,000 for
pass it
Project
down
Pride?
so Lorraine can
Says
confirm she's got-
35,500 and Project Pride not to exceed 13,000.
Perfect.
Bingo.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Next item is award contract for road resurfacing and repairs. The village received bids on Friday, February 25th at 10 a.m. for the reference project. There were 13 bids. The bids range from a low of $2,189,190.85 to a high of $3,191,185.30. A summary of the bids is attached from the village engineer. He's recommending award of a low bid to American Asphalt and Trucking, LLC of Newark, New Jersey, and he's requesting a partial award of that contract in the amount of $2 million to start the paving work as soon as possible, funding available in the 22 capital budget.
Any thoughts on why there is such a spread in the bids, $1 million?
Nothing specific, but you see this a lot when there's a lot of bidders. They're getting prices from multiple vendors and then putting a profit on top of that. It's not uncommon.
And what is the benefit of making a partial award now?
Good question. I'll have to ask the village engineer. I think he often does this because he's not. Let me back up. Part of the way he does this bid is pretty much a menu of everything that has to be done. And then he looks at the streets figure and determines how much he thinks could be done for the year.
Oh.
So he doesn't want to award the whole contract and then not have work completed in the year.
And his thinking is that way he can interchange if something happens with this vendor to get the project done with those same numbers. So.
You okay? All right.
Okay. Next item is declaring surplus police vehicles. Recommendation from Sergeant John Chuck in the Police Department. Police car number 2 and 14 have been determined to be not needed, and they're requesting surplus of the vehicles to Enterprise LLC, who will then issue a credit to the department for purchase of future vehicles. These 2 vehicles are in need of repairs that exceed the value of each vehicle. Car number 2 requires suspension work and rear end work. Car 14 needs transmission work, body work, and other general maintenance work. The Fleet Department of the village has inspected the vehicles and agrees that they should not be repaired and issued for surplus.
Okay. Anyone?
Next item is accepting a grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture Natural Resources Conservation Service. The Village of Ridgewood has been advised, due to the efforts of the Department of Public Works and Engineering Division, that the village is eligible for United States Department of Agricultural grant for emergency watershed protection. This will be used by the village to assist in stream bank stabilization and debris removal at specific locations along the Hocus Brook and the Saddle River, resulting from the remnants of Hurricane Ida. The federal grant amount is $201,960. There's a contributing amount from the village requiring the amount of $61,200. The resolution is to authorize that the village manager or the director of public works, village engineer, be able to execute all necessary forms for obtaining this grant for the village. He notes the last time this type of grant was received was back in 2012 after Hurricane Irene.
Anyone?
This is great. Some of the language I find confusing because it says that the Village of Ridgewood is eligible, and yet they seem to have awarded the grant. And it's also kind of odd that they never use the word flooding, and the whole purpose seems to be to diminish flooding. But I just commend the engineering department for their energy and creativity in getting a Department of Agriculture grant for maintaining our streams. This is really terrific.
Thank you. Next is release of performance surety bond for the Benjamin development at 9-27 Franklin Avenue. Recommendation from the village engineer based on his review of their request. He's recommending that the bond, performance surety bond, be released for this project.
Okay. Anyone questions?
There are no items under policy. The final item is under operations. Proposed encroachment agreement for 80 Oak Street. The referenced resident in this proposal is seeking to repair a retaining wall along the front of their property. It was discovered that the walls within the village's right-of-way of Oak Street. The resident wishes to maintain the wall and has submitted a request for an encroachment agreement relating to the wall's placement. The village engineer is recommending approval of that agreement.
I'd like to throw it out there to my colleagues. I just wanted to point out that nothing in the resolution or the encroachment agreement quantifies the current encroachment. It just says a minor encroachment, and then it relies on the survey from 1994. And, you know, I would like to see a little tighter language in the text quantifying what the current encroachment is, because they could rebuild the wall and there be an encroachment and they'll say, well, that's minor. And
No,
really-
I totally agree. That was definitely a question. The question I had was, what is the encroachment? How much?
Well, just so everybody knows, this encroachment, this rock wall goes right up to the sidewalk. So it goes to the sidewalk, and then that's where it had been from what I understand from Chris, for years and years and years, and we've done this before. And I suppose what you could do is you could get you get a property survey, a meets and bounds description, and talk about where it comes to. But that's why we've used the survey in the past, because it's a way of at least depicting it. So you can ask Chris if you want to see if there's a better way to describe it, but the survey has been the way we've done it.
I did speak with Chris, and he leaves it up to us. Do we want to quantify it or not? He thinks that with the survey, that's adequate.
I agree with Chris, and this comes up because the homeowner wants to do repair work.
Right.
And so I think that it's a de minimis encroachment. I think that we should just proceed and do the agreement.
We have a lot of these. I mean, there are
Yeah,
a
we
lot
do.
of
We
them.
get
And
them all the
maybe
time.
one of the things, Pam said, if Chris leaves it to us, maybe that can be explored as to a better way to at least identify or at least describe the encroachment rather than just use the survey, if there's a better way or an easier way. But I think meets and bounds descriptions and the like cost money. You can always put that onto the applicant or the grantee, or the grantor rather. But the effort to try and do that, I guess, is something that Chris has felt comfortable with. But if he thinks there's a better way, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it.
This is a pretty common thing
Yeah.
with retaining walls that are really, they would appear to be part of the homeowner's property. It's almost like the sidewalk that they're responsible for maintaining, but is on village property. So, and I've seen this in many towns, many places.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with it, and they're going to repair the wall, so that's a good thing. Okay.
And there is an indemnification, hold harmless, and defend clause in here that precludes liability for the village for anything that might happen. So.
Okay, great. Nothing else. With that, we'll go back to public comments, not to exceed 5 minutes per person.
Rorik Halliday, 1 Franklin. I'll give my comments about the CBD and also respond to some of the comments that were made about the budget and also about the website.
Could you speak? Yeah. Could you speak into the
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. I'm always telling people to speak to the microphone. I wasn't. My apologies. I know it's too late, but to me, the dining corrals are a great attraction to the village dining scene. These will be gone in a few days. Another nail in the coffin of the CBD. You can shed all the crocodile tears you want regarding the challenges of the so-called brick and mortar merchants in town. Believe me, you don't strengthen them by weakening the restaurants, which are now the main drivers of the vitality of the CBD. Looking at a healthy shopping environment like Westwood, the only way to attract shoppers to the village is to do something about the ridiculously high parking rates. $1.25 plus those kiosks drive many, many people away. Westwood has parking meters, and you put in 25 cents for an hour. Now, let me give you an example. And this is one thing that Ms. Knudsen had said in the past, which I agree with totally, when they were talking about grab and go. And she made a great comment about park and stay. Let me give an example of park and stay. Yesterday, my wife and I went to Hohokus to go to the Minuteman printing company. When we finished, we were walking back to the car, and by the way, in Hohokus, zero. You don't pay anything for parking. We went past McLaughlin, rather expensive dress shop. So my lovely wife of 58 years looks at me and says, "Isn't that a nice dress in the window?" What would I say? No. I said nothing. I said, "Please, be my guest." This, what we're looking for are people to come into town, to walk around, and you attract them by having good restaurants. Okay? You attract them by having no parking fees or a very limited parking fee. The idea of spending $1.25 just to pick up a prescription at the pharmacy is just ridiculous. Also, there is no shortage of parking spaces with the garage. And I was really shocked when Ms. Knudsen, in an interview with CBS, made the amazing statement that the garage was built for commuters and employees, not shoppers. What? The whole idea behind the garage is for shoppers as well as commuters and employees. Now, I'll change subjects. As far as the budget, public comments, public hearing, this year I did not attend the various meetings you had where the various department heads presented their budgets. I did come last year, and you know something? I could have been attending a lecture on Egyptian hieroglyphics. It just went over my head. Why? Because I had no access to the documents that you were discussing among yourselves. This is up, this is down, this is sideways. They're all deliberative documents. We didn't have access to them. Now, the best thing I can say about why Bob Rooney should have a public meeting, not just a public hearing, and Ms. Perrin, I don't understand why you have to ask permission, because Bob Rooney made a tremendous presentation a few months ago about the basics of the agenda of the budget. Why can't he do that? Why do you need permission? You just tell him to do that. You owe it to the Ridgewood residents to do that, because when you talk about transparency, the only thing I can think of, having traveled the highways and byways of Iowa and Nebraska and you name it, is transparency to me, as defined by Ridgewood, is like a big pile of mud in an Iowa barnyard. There's no transparency. To be transparent, you have to make an effort to explain to people exactly what is happening. I know about 3 years ago, the Board of Ed under Jenny Wilson did a fantastic job appearing in front of the League of Women Voters, where she went through a very simplified form of a budget. Okay?
right, thank
And
you.
as far as the website, the only thing I can tell you, Pam,
Okay.
look up Glen Rock, look up
Right.
Westfield, look up Franklin Lakes.
Thank you,
You
Rory.
compare it with Ridgewoods,
Yeah.
okay? Because
Thank you.
just having a tile doesn't mean you fix the thing.
Okay.
And having to depend on the League of Women Voters to tell you that the
Rorick, I'm sorry.
things
I'm
were
gonna, Rorick, thank you.
15 months out of date
Rorick.
is not a good reflection on the village.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi again, Jeannie Johnson, 325 Maston Place. I want to continue my comments about making the village a safe, walkable community. The NV5 engineers and city planners who are devising the master plan are recommending measures to reduce vehicular traffic in the CBD. If we're not going to heed their advice, then why are we paying them? Pedestrian safety advocates know that it takes a significant behavioral shift to create a vibrant downtown. Much of that has been accomplished in the last 2 years through the efforts of a small group of committed residents. So now our leaders need to deter motorists from driving downtown, and residents and visitors get to take advantage of, to continue to take advantage of the safer environment, and they get to walk whenever possible. There are so very many reasons to discourage driving and encourage walking in the CBD. It's good for our personal health, it's good for the environment, and it's good for commerce. If you don't believe me, then let's look to Paris. One of the most exclusive shopping districts in the world is located there, and the Champs-Élysées is closing 4 lanes of roadway and converting it to a pedestrian plaza. That's significant. The dining corrals in the pedestrian plaza are good for Ridgewood. Please reconsider your decision to do away with them, or at the very least, come to some kind of a compromise so we don't lose the traction that we've gained by recreating our safe, walkable community. And finally, driving motorists to the parking garage will help us pay for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie. I said thank you. I said thank you, Jeannie.
Lillian Blood, 250 North Maple Avenue. One of the things, when you have only 3 people who stay for your whole meeting, to limit someone who wants to speak more than 5 minutes seems to be a little bit silly. I don't think that anyone will speak 10 minutes, but to let them go over the 5-minute limit, but just another minute to finish their presentation would be courteous, I think, to the people who spend 2 hours here just to listen. And I think that they want to add something to you so that you can have a better understanding of what the community wants. And that's what I want to say about that. As far as pickleball goes, we are enjoying our time there. We can't wait till we get the other barriers up, so that when we have a day like tomorrow, which is going to be raining, Thursday, and then Friday is going to be sunny, we're not going to be able to play. So again, maybe we should reconsider which days we should be able to allow to play until we get our things up. When it rains, maybe that's a day that we don't play. But maybe on Friday, when it's sunny, we do play. Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian. All right. With that, we'll close.
I would like to say 2 things. One, we did have, with regard to the budget process, yes, we had 4 meetings, but it's such a fluid document. It's changing as we discuss it. And that's part of what makes it so hard for the public to understand. I think it would be productive for Bob Rooney to make a presentation and answer questions, not in the setting of our village council meeting, but more in a conversational question and answer situation. So I would like the village manager to consider that. And no, I can't tell Bob Rooney to do that. I can't tell any employee what to do. That is the village manager's job. And also, with regard to the kiosks that were mentioned, there have been so many problems with them. And whenever I see a problem, like the quarters won't go in, the door for the coins won't go in, or it's not printing out a receipt, This happens so frequently, and when I call up the village engineer or Signal, they say, yeah, okay, they know about these problems. Are we under warranty? I mean, the manufacturer should have made a better product, is how I feel
so
about it.
I'll just weigh in on that because I have a thing about taking photos of the kiosk when the quarter won't go in, and then I email them to Heather.
Right.
But my thought was always, and I don't know why we couldn't do this, I'm sure there must be some tool that as the our parking PEOs are going around, that they could just tuck it in, and if it's clear, it's clear. They go to the next one, they tuck it in. If it's clear, it's clear. They go to the next one, they tuck it in, just like, I don't know, like a little flat, not like a screwdriver, but like a butter knife almost, because if the butter knife won't go in, the quarter won't go in, but just a little tool. I've asked, and I think we should raise it again, because I think I run into it all the time.
Me too.
And I haven't run into the receipt not printing issue, but I think that there are people that still continue to want to pay with quarters, and I think that we should make certain that the money goes in. And then if you don't pay, I think the next question is, so if the quarter thing doesn't work, then should someone be obligated to pay with a credit card or debit card or Park Mobile? And that's, you have to pay, so you have to pay with some form of some mechanism. But I agree, and I think maybe we should take that on to see if we can't troubleshoot and make that situation better. I do
And
agree.
then I just recently figured out that it's a timing thing. You have to stand and wait for the door to the coin slot to open. Yeah, I was just putting in my coins real quick, but you have to wait for it to open.
How long?
Sometimes not at all, but it's a few seconds. And and the reason I figured this out is because I would complain to Chris, he would send Rich Tarleton out, and Rich would say, oh, it's working. So that's how I figured out that it's a timing issue. I also wanted to say that with regard to the dining corrals, I have to agree with the public commenter who said if we lose the dining corrals, we're just weakening not only the residents, the restaurants, but our whole business community. We heard from a commenter tonight that there's a bill in the state Senate, I guess it is, to extend outdoor dining all over the state. That means if we don't have these corrals, we are going to be left in the dust. Ridgewood will not be the destination anymore. They'll go to Montclair or Summit or some other town for recreation, and we won't have that kind of foot traffic that the retailers need.
But the retailers are stating that it is hurting their business. So I think it's a more complex issue. I think it's just a more complicated issue, and not knowing the dynamics of other types of businesses. We understand that the dining corrals benefit the restaurants, but it is hurting other non-food businesses, services, retailers. They're all saying exactly the same thing, as are the landlords. So I just think that while it sounds good, I mean, I was a supporter. I'm the one that sat here and said, I love the dining corrals. We should expand them onto Ridgewood Ave and help those. So I'm not opposed to the dining corrals, but I understand the pleas of the other businesses who were saying they're off by 40, 50%, we will lose those businesses, and then we will have massive vacancies. So I just think that this is a complex issue, and
I haven't seen any data to that effect, though.
Well, yeah. I think that we're going to just take a motion to adjourn at this point.
So moved.
Yeah, thank you.
Before we do, I just
second.
wanted to respond to a couple of comments that were made.
Oh.
One is Lillian. I spoke with Nancy Bigos yesterday. She's been following up with the vendor for the sound barriers, and the anticipated date would be somewhere mid-May. They would be up and installed, so you can just let your fellow pickleball players know. And Rurik, as to the budget presentation, I didn't know that anyone was interested in the budget because literally no one attended. And let me just say, if there were, as we know, Bob made a budget presentation to show us how this was done, and it was so well attended. There were 50, 60 people there, and I think that if there was some interest, if we saw a level of interest in this, I would certainly want Bob and Heather to have that kind of open forum, because it's your money. You should know about it. And if the current format, which while I do believe I was waiting to see people attend, it is geared more towards council discussion. But if there was interest, I think we could talk about doing that kind of presentation.
All right.
Now, since the meeting is over,
Yeah,
then
let
us close the meeting, and then we'll
wait,
talk.
just a time out. We have a motion on the floor, and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
okay, now I can talk. Basically, there is interest. People care. And when Bob had his presentation, as you said, 50, 60 people attended. But announce it. And all. But because